The big thing here is that static stretching was more effective than other forms of stretching in the study. It took at least 4 weeks to make a change, right? A lot of folks will start stretching and then they won't make a change. And I'll say, well, how long were you stretching for? And they'll say, oh, about 2 weeks. I'm like, well, you got to give it a little longer. It takes more time to make that change, right? If I'm trying to make my biceps grow and I just do bicep curls for 2 weeks, that's probably not going to give me a good long-term change. You need to do it for longer, right? 30 to 60 seconds of stretch, just one set, is sufficient for changes in range of motion in the long term over longer time periods. 5 to 10 minutes of stretching per week is kind of the sweet spot. And 5 to 7 days per week is also optimal, right? So what do I do as a physical therapist when someone comes into me and they say, hey, I need to get, my snatch a little bit better, right? I have a hard time getting to the right positions. So I assess them and say, yes, you do have some mobility limitations. We kind of write down the areas that are most limited. And then I design a stretching program for these folks. And here's the thing. I use static stretching. I think static stretching is one of the strongest tools we have to change mobility. And I will follow the guidelines in this paper. So the same things I just read off to you, I will follow those guidelines when I prescribe stretches, right? But here's the other thing. I also use some other interventions, and I'll do some more fitness pain-free shows about these interventions in the future, but I like to add in foam rolling and eccentric work. We've got research to show that eccentrics work as well as static stretching, and you don't have to do them as frequently to make a change, which is phenomenal. The other thing is I add loaded stretching or just weight training through a full range of motion, right? So if I'm doing pull-ups, let's say I'm doing like a supinated grip pull-up, so an underhand pull-up with a full hang at the very bottom, you're getting a pretty good stretch of those muscles and it's loaded, right? Do the same thing with squatting. We go into the very bottom position of a squat and we pause there, or we do some tempo work and we make sure that we're getting as deep as we possibly can. And I think that's a phenomenal way to build A, strength, B, technique, but C, mobility. We're probably building all of those things, right? And the other thing to think about is that we're probably creating some sort of ligamentous laxity by training, right? And I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but if you look at sports that have like an overhead throw or overhead strike, so I'm talking about things like tennis, volleyball, baseball, pitchers especially, they will acquire some anterior instability or laxity of the glenohumeral joint. And the reason why they do this is they're constantly at end ranges of motion all the time, throwing baseballs or with a tennis racket, whatever that is. And we know that actually loosens up the ligaments, right? The capsule in our shoulder. So I imagine the same thing is happening in, let's say, an Olympic weightlifting athlete that's snatching. So I'm in almost end range abduction, external rotation when I'm catching a barbell overhead. Over the course of time, I really feel like we're probably gaining a little bit of laxity there. And we have a little bit of research to show that's already happening in folks that do weight training, right? So I think just by training through a full range of motion, trying to do the movements that you want to do over the course of time, you probably will build a little bit of mobility. Although I definitely add in these targeted mobility programs with static stretching, eccentrics, foam rolling, all that stuff to the joints and muscles that are limited. So here's what I want you to do next, guys. If you enjoyed this video so far, I have an entire course. It's free. It's called the Fitness Pain-Free Mini Course. And we go over 3 lessons going to help you take a lot of this information that we went over so far and put it into practice. The first lecture is called Why We Need a Better System. So first and foremost, the way we treat fitness individuals, all right, athletic people in the gym from a physical therapy perspective is pretty much broke, okay? So we need a better system to serve the folks that are in the gym, that get hurt, they want to get back to training, all right? Lecture number 2 is called 7 Reasons Why People Get Hurt in the Gym. And essentially, we have to know the reasons why people get hurt in the gym so we can keep them safe in the future, right? And when they get hurt, we have to know why and how to get them back to training in the gym. Okay, so a thorough understanding of this is very, very important. I actually have a really cool infographic that goes along with this lecture that you get for free as well. And lastly, we go over a case study of how to get someone out of pain and back to training. So these principles are all phenomenal, but we don't actually put it together and you don't understand how to create a program to get people back in the gym and keep them safe for the long term, then we lose, right? So I'll put a link in the show notes for this. It's a Fitness Pain-Free Mini Course. Definitely check this out.